this business that I love since I was a kid, I could no longer watch. I thought it was absolute shit.
This segment genuinely was bad. From beginning to end, it was awful.
But me, matter of fact, the boys, were sick of the same people being the face of this brand.
This might be genuinely sad to say, but I believe Pat McAfee was right all along. Now, before you get your pitchforks, just listen to the heel's advocate, because my points that I will be making in this video are going to be transcending the Pat McAfee storyline. And honestly, the message that Pat McAfee portrayed is actually very ironic, because in a way the WWE is acknowledging and admitting that the product is genuinely terrible. So let us roll back the clock to the beginning of this year and focus on the moment after Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble. Now, after Roman Reigns went ahead and he won the Royal Rumble, it was very ironic that before he could actually win the Rumble, they decided to magically, suddenly take the title off of Cody Rhodes, who held it for damn near 2 years, and make it so that when Roman Reigns won the Rumble, he couldn't pick Cody and get back the title that he lost against him. Instead, he had to pick between Drew McIntyre or CM Punk. Well, CM Punk defeated Drew McIntyre, and Roman Reigns has already beaten Drew McIntyre as well, and he never wrestled CM Punk. The choice was obvious. Let's go with Punk. But then something happened that truly annoyed me like nothing else. It's the Elimination Chamber. Randy Orton wins it, Drew McIntyre screws Cody Rhodes, and the following week on Monday Night Raw, it is announced that Cody Rhodes will get a free title shot just literally after losing the Chamber against Drew McIntyre, and that to me was just disgusting. I thought to myself, alright, now we're at a stage where we do not even know what we want to do, right? We have basically sidetracked Cody Rhodes for no reason other than that Roman Reigns cannot pick him as his title match. Okay, fine, whatever. But then we also make him lose a Chamber so that Randy can win, and then we're going to go ahead and take the title off of Drew McIntyre. This was the biggest reason why this year's WrestleMania fell down the drain. And honestly, it is nothing more than the lack of creative ability of Triple H, because he ruined this entire year. It's as simple as that. And obviously, we have two baby faces going at it. Roman Reigns, CM Punk. Then on the blue brand, we have a babyface, Cody Rhodes. Well, obviously, Randy Orton is also beloved, so what can we do to make this entire thing a little bit more interesting? How about we randomly make Randy Orton turn heel? On what premise? Because during the contract signing, Cody Rhodes said that he wanted the best version of Randy, and then suddenly Randy just loses it, right? So already that trigger to turn heel was not really viable. It just didn't really seem like a valid reason to be crashing out like that. Then to make matters worse, he doesn't show up. Randy Orton literally doesn't show up for like 1 or 2 weeks after he turned heel, and mind you, we only had maybe 2 or 3 weeks left before WrestleMania. So you're trying to build up a Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes storyline that has A, 20 years of history. B, we could literally use Brandy Rhodes as a story vehicle. We could make Randy Orton go out there and maybe attack Brandy Rhodes, or kiss her, or handcuff Cody Rhodes. Try and do something that will spice up the entire WrestleMania. Cody versus Randy genuinely had the potential to become one of the biggest stories of the entire year, and honestly, it would have outshined the Roman Reigns CM Punk title match. And I'm being genuinely honest. Had we given it a proper build, it would have done the best Mania main event in the last 3-4 years. And I am not even exaggerating, because the fact is this: in what other storyline or match at WrestleMania that we had this year did we have a long history? We could have utilized a unhinged Randy Orton a while ago. They planted the seeds for Randy Orton to turn heel against Cody Rhodes at the year previous to that, right? 2025 King of the Ring, where Cody Rhodes defeated Randy Orton, and after the match, Randy Orton looked very pissed and sad or whatever. They could have used that, but no, instead, they waited, and they waited, and they missed the opportunity. And that is the biggest problem with Triple H's booking. And so when Pat McAfee got involved, and the only reason why they did that is because, well, honestly, who in their right minds would want to boo Randy Orton? Randy Orton is so over. So you have to understand that, okay, now we're going to have Randy Orton, who is supposed to be heel, whose job is supposed to be getting booed, but he can't get booed. Nobody really wants to boo him. So what are we gonna do? Well, let's go ahead and bring an outsider in, like we did so many times for Cody Rhodes, right? They did it against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. They brought in The Rock. WrestleMania 41, they brought in Travis Scott, The Rock, John Cena. You know, they like everybody keeps getting involved, right? And then WrestleMania 42, another person gets involved once again. So it's just this rinse and repeat method of like, okay, we'll bring somebody in from the outside, put him up against Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes will be the perpetual babyface, and we'll go from there. And if we can make Randy Orton align with Pat McAfee, then by that alliance, Randy Orton will become hated as well. But the problem is they didn't really capitalize on that at all. You know, the fact is this, it was a very poor execution. Suddenly, Randy Orton needs help from Pat McAfee. That visual alone is horrible. But I think that they went overboard, right? They really got actual genuine heat on Pat McAfee, but it wasn't really helping Randy Orton. Now, had Randy Orton come out on numerous promos and came out and said, I love Pat McAfee, he is doing the right thing, I love him, thank you for, you know, awakening the Viper in me up, or thank you for teaching me, like, you know, just say, you know, a whole lot of BS that he doesn't even mean. You know, just go ahead and really make it so that, oh yeah, I am really on the side of Pat McAfee. But that wasn't really the case. Yeah, you know, they would hug it out and they would walk around, but it just didn't feel like it had any real proper connection, right? And so when we go ahead and enter night 1 of WrestleMania 42, and immediately we have Pat McAfee get taken out, Jelly Roll gets taken out as well. It's like, all right, that's the match, I guess, right? You know, now the match can begin. And as soon as the match ends, Randy Orton RKOs and he attacks Pat McAfee. But that's like exactly what he's not supposed to do as a heel, right? His job is to be hated. People really need to hate him. You can say whatever you want about John Cena, but when he was a heel, you know, it was very bad, right? And it was kind of like a, you know, they worked us into a shoot basically with how bad it was. But still, at the end of the day, they kind of got that reaction. With Randy Orton, they didn't. And as soon as they kind of did, as soon as we kind of got to a point where, damn, this alliance is annoying, they immediately ended it off. Immediately after Randy Orton loses, RKO to Pat McAfee, a punt kick to Cody, and then he's getting cheered. Are you kidding me? Right? Then to top all of that off, he disappears after WrestleMania. Like, Randy Orton acts like he's the one that got like brutalized. And he punt kicks Cody Rhodes. He raises the belt, and he's not even there the following night on Monday Night Raw. You know? Instead, it's Cody Rhodes coming out to congratulate CM Punk on losing, and then he gives him a free title shot. Like, what are we doing, gang? You know, what are we genuinely doing? This is like the problem with the WWE, and Pat McAfee was right. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Pat McAfee said. Now, the pipe bomb that Pat McAfee cut is basically very foreshadowing. A lot of the things that he said up until that point was in retrospect of what happened previously, you know? So he basically went out to say, oh yeah, you know, like this WrestleMania completely sucks. Don't even buy WrestleMania night 2. Here are 25% discount for night 1, you know? So like obviously he's already acknowledging that his job here is to reiterate what the fans are saying. Like, it's one of the most bizarre road to WrestleManias of all time, because in no era ever have I seen them acknowledging how bad it is and making that a storyline. So like, how, like, I don't understand it, right? They could only pull this off with wrestling fans. And to be honest, the numbers showed it, right? Despite John Cena coming out and lying about the attendance, right? He said it was 55,000. It was barely even 50,000 at that. But nonetheless, another point that he said was like, all right, now we're here, right? Now I'm here. My job is to make this event as big as possible. He goes ahead, he nutshots Cody Rhodes, and he acknowledges that, you know what? A lot of the fans that we have today are very disenfranchised. What about the Attitude Era fans? What about the fans that genuinely love professional wrestling? How are you treating them? You know, we have this matchup right here, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton. What are we doing with it? Oh, we're gonna have this entire like stall going on, and we're gonna sit here and wait for Roman Reigns to win the Royal Rumble. All right, he won it. Let's put the title back on Cody Rhodes. Let's make Drew McIntyre disappear. Let's put him in a feud with Jacob Fatu and let him have a match at WrestleMania. As soon as that match ends, we can have Drew McIntyre disappear. Everything that they did, they didn't know what to do afterwards, right? If you look at the totality of WrestleMania, everything that led up to it ended right then and there. It was genuinely a dead end. You know, whether it be Cody Rhodes not having anything to do, whether it be AJ Lee disappearing, Drew McIntyre disappearing, Randy Orton disappearing, CM Punk also disappearing, literally. What are we going to do with this product, right? You had all this controversy to build up WrestleMania and you did nothing with it. And so that is one of the points that I really give, Pat McAfee a lot of credit for, because he was right in everything that he said. Now, honestly, despite his delivery and him being corny, cheesy, and being a failed The Rock in his deliveries and his promos, he even went ahead and copied literally word for word one of his promo moments where The Rock would be like addressing a heckler in the crowd and be like, yo, shut your mouth, right? And, Pat McAfee, he did the same thing. And honestly, that is the problem, right? Had it been somebody else, had it been delivered in another way, we could have kind of went with that and maybe got a little bit more exciting. Now, I don't know who else could have been in that position because his sole job was to get heat. His sole job was to get hated. But how can you really hate the person at that time trying to go out, right, and say, all right, Cody Rhodes, you completely suck. I'm going to join up with Randy Orton and try and make this match interesting. But at the same time, I'm going to bury this company. I'm going to bury the product and I'm going to say how bad it is. And at the same time, I'm going to offer you a 25% discount, right? So the, artistic vision for that was completely missed. And, despite that, I have to say that he really resonated with me. At that time, I remember thinking to myself, okay, you guys, look, we have WrestleMania coming up. We have Roman Reigns, CM Punk. That build-up is horrendous. Roman Reigns and CM Punk, I don't know what you guys think about that, build up to WrestleMania. It was horrendous. They had a good match, but who cares? I don't really care, They went ahead and they talked about, I hated you back in the day. When you left, you made my job a lot harder because you were pipe bombing on Colt Cabana's podcast. And, you're over here now coming back and, licking everybody's behind. And, now you're buddy with Triple H. And look, you got the World Heavyweight Championship, but what are you really? You're just a phone, you're a fraud. That's basically the whole promo segment between Roman Reigns and CM Punk. And they realize, okay, now this is going to get nowhere. CM Punk then says, all right, you know what? I'm going to bury you next to your dad. All right. Now we got a little bit more personal. A few weeks later, CM Punk is sitting there literally apologizing. And then Roman Reigns says, you know what, Phil, I'm sorry, or something along those lines. And he said, yeah, you know what? It's actually not me. It's always been you, because when you were gone and they were chanting your name, I thought to myself, hopefully one day they will chant my name when I'm gone like that. Are you kidding me, bro? What is this? What is that? I really wished that Pat McAfee caught a little bit more of a promo on Roman Reigns and CM Punk, because honestly, the entire WrestleMania was horrendous. But, his job is to sell tickets, not completely bury the show. I get that too, But that was kind of his role. Literally, Triple H said, yeah, the show sucks. Go out there and tell him that it sucks, So Pat McAfee goes out there and says, we are freshly off of the heels off of a SmackDown that didn't even pull 1 million live viewers, and this is the champion that did it. And yeah, okay, that's true, that's facts. But how could Cody Rhodes, for example, right, go ahead and pull in 1 million viewers when he doesn't really have a storyline, right? Had it been Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes from the beginning of the year onward, I would have preferred that. Are you kidding me? Who would have cared about Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton had it not been for Pat McAfee being involved? If Pat McAfee wasn't involved and they had like a proper build up before the Elimination Chamber, or even like I don't know what they could have done, but they could have utilized a lot more time. I am of the opinion that Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton is one of the biggest matches left in the WWE that we can make that isn't Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, because honestly, we've seen that match twice and we're kind of over it. Of course, we've also seen Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, but not under these circumstances, not for these stakes, not for a WrestleMania main event, not for the title either. So it's just one of those things that we could have played into. We were freshly off of John Cena's retirement, so emotions were still high, and we could have built up the fact that if Randy Orton were to win, he can become a 15-time champion, and he's only then 2 championship wins away from breaking or tying John Cena's record. So it's like, all right, John Cena is done, but Randy Orton might be able to surpass him. Randy's entire career, he was always number 2, but this could be part of that storyline. It could have been something that bothered Randy Orton his entire career. He's been number 2. Now Cena retires with a 17-time championship, and he's only 3 away, 2 away, basically, if he beats Cody Rhodes at Mania, that of like breaking that record. And that could be also a factor where, all right, I can beat him, I can become 15-time champion, and now I am also getting closer to beating John Cena's record. So not only does it become a story of Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes, and they could, like I said earlier in the video, maybe go ahead and make it personal, bring in Brandy, bring in the children, bring in his stupid dog Pharaoh, you know what I mean, aka head, you know what I mean. We could do a lot of things, but we didn't. And to make matters worse, we didn't make Randy Orton win at WrestleMania. I understand it. Look, if you want to make Cody Rhodes strong, if you want to make Cody Rhodes look like a formidable opponent and still remain strong, in the hopes that maybe if The Rock doesn't return at 43, then we can make Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. But no, instead, after WrestleMania, we have Sami Zayn fruit roll up Cody Rhodes. He wins it. A week later, Cody Rhodes is supposed to get back the title, right? And on that episode of Monday Night Raw, Gunther suddenly attacks him before the match even begins. Then suddenly CM Punk comes out. He takes the title off of Sami Zayn. Then we finally get Cody Rhodes and CM Punk to have their match. And, Randy Orton comes in and he ruins it for him. It's like, bro, what are we doing? Like, we're convoluting the storyline of Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes when it should be about the title, right? That's the main driving force, because without the title, why would Randy Orton even give a damn about fighting Cody Rhodes? It doesn't make any sense, right? We have never in storyline established that the feud could be very personal. No, it was basically off of the fact that, okay, Randy Orton wins the Elimination Chamber, but for some reason, Cody Rhodes, that literally lost the same exact match, a week later gets a free title shot. It's like, damn, bro, like Randy Orton could be thinking to myself, well, it looks like me winning this grueling, arduous match is less beneficial to me than you losing it. So I could have been the one losing it, and following week I could get a match against Drew McIntyre myself. Damn, that could have been better. So they didn't establish that it's a personal beef. No, it was a very competitive beef. He wants to go out there and become 15-time champion. So the fact is this, you guys, the WWE bringing in Pat McAfee and him going out there and cutting his promo and going over like basically everything that he said is very true. But it's also sad that it is true. I'll make a separate video on Triple H, for example, talking about how everything is just horrendous now. Like, this is quite literally like the worst year that I've seen in this Netflix era. And nobody is to basically rise above the level that they were at. Roman Reigns, what is he doing? Has Roman Reigns risen above the level that he was at? No. He's one level below Cody Rhodes after WrestleMania 40, and he hasn't risen above that. He hasn't gotten his title back. Instead, he literally just goes out there and wins the secondary title. Like, if Roman Reigns at least won the Undisputed Championship, I could believe, that is a little bit more legitimate. But no, he wins that match. He goes ahead and he wrestles Jacob Fatu, who was on SmackDown this entire time. That could have been a Cody Rhodes opponent, but it wasn't. That ends, and he suddenly gives a random title match to Seth Rollins, who literally lost the qualifying match for the King of the Ring, and the winner, Obafemi, didn't get to challenge Roman Reigns. So we're now in a position where everything that Pat McAfee said before going into WrestleMania is even worse after. So it's kind of like, okay, the WWE acknowledged that the WWE is in a very, very bad spot now. They had WrestleMania, and after WrestleMania, what do they decide to do? Nothing. That's the problem here, because now I'm looking at everything and I'm thinking to myself, have they learned anything? What is next? They're going to bring back Pat McAfee? That's my problem, To make matters worse, for example, they said, all right, Pat McAfee, if Randy Orton loses, then you will never appear on WWE television again. That was part of the kayfabe. And not even a week later, we see Cody Rhodes and Pat McAfee at this Disney Channel event, and they were sitting side by side on some random panel. That is also annoying to me because we can't even keep kayfabe alive. You understand? It's like, all right, now we know that the WWE themselves think this company sucks, this product sucks, and the supposed guys that had beef, Pat McAfee and Cody Rhodes, they also, they were telling each other how much, they both suck and they were the cause of the WWE declining. The following week, they're sitting smiling next to each other at Disney. I mean, you know, I don't know what to say anymore, you know. Roman Reigns is not in a position where he's elevating the company. If anything, you know, that would have shown in the numbers, but it just completely sucks, you know. It really does. I don't know what else can be said about the WWE other than the fact that, all right, WrestleMania 42, 2025 is maybe a already guaranteed filler year, and they're just waiting to get through this year so that they can kick off 2027 WrestleMania 43 in Saudi. That then maybe everything will kick up in a higher gear and we can move forward then. But my question is why? You know, I don't really get it. Like, what is the ultimate goal here? Is it Obafemi, Roman Reigns? We could have had that match at SummerSlam. That could have been big. You know, maybe the idea is that, all right, Roman Reigns is going to lose to Obafemi, but Roman Reigns can't lose at SummerSlam just yet, so we're going to have to keep the title on him. Okay, cool. I get that. But if that was the case, why did we put Obafemi in the King of the Ring tournament? I mean, he literally lost at Backlash, and the tournament started the following Monday Night Raw. He could have just said, oh, I'm injured. You know, he couldn't even partake, you know, he could have not partaken in the tournament. It could have been Seth Rollins who won the tournament, and that could have been a little bit more legit. But no, you know, we're just over here wasting time, lying, cheating, and scamming and rinsing the fans. So all in all, you guys, I don't know what to say anymore. It's, you know, it's really sad to me that even at that time I acknowledged that the Pat McAfee storyline was the only thing that was kind of good, you know, in the sense that it is interesting and it has people talking. In terms of the quality of the storyline, it was very bad. Nobody can deny that. But it's like, if it wasn't for him, would we even have talked about WrestleMania at all? You know, it is really that sad. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm the Heels Advocate. Check out the new merch. The Heel Club is now available on heelsadvocate.com. Get yourself a beanie, get yourself a t-shirt, and I'm out.